One who is, however, taking pleasure in the self, who is illumined in the self, who rejoices in and is satisfied with the self, fully satiated. For him, there is no duty. This is text 17, chapter 3, 17. We finished the rotation, so now we're back to the first one. So this is the first one. Text 17. Thank you, Prabhuji. Purport: a person who is fully Krishna conscious and is fully satisfied by his acts in Krishna consciousness no longer has any duty to perform. Due to his being Krishna conscious, all impiety within is instantly cleansed. An effect of many, many thousands of yajna performances. By such clearing of consciousness, one becomes fully confident of his eternal position and relationship with the Supreme. His duty thus becomes self-illuminated by the grace of the Lord, and therefore he no longer has any obligations to the Vedic injunctions. Such a Krishna-conscious person is no longer interested in material activities and no longer takes pleasure in material arrangements like wine, women, and similar infatuations. Does Maharaj have any comments? Okay. Let's see here. Due to his being Krishna conscious, all impiety within is instantly cleansed, an effect of many, many thousands of yajna performances. So, Krishna is papavidam, meaning he's purifying. He's like what's the word? Prophylactic, something like that. So what's this? Is that the right word I'm thinking of? Yeah, it's like antiseptic is another word that you could use. But purifying, like the sun is purifying. And the sun, interesting thing is that the sun actually, when the sun comes in contact by his rays with this world and all the impurities in this world. But the rays purify and he doesn't actually become contaminated. It's interesting. Like all the living entities are just passing stool and urine on the surface in the sun by contact with the rays. Like for instance, cat passes urine on the pavement. Okay. Sun's rays are there and evaporates the urine and purifies the scenario without the sun actually becoming contaminated. So Krishna is similar. Whatever he does is pure. Whatever he comes in contact with is pure. Therefore, we can't understand him with our limited understanding. If one is just attached to the dry ritualistic aspect of the Vedas, he won't actually understand Krishna. You can't understand Krishna without devotional service, bhakti. And bhakti is the pure urge of the soul, of the heart, the love coming from the soul, being situated towards God. So that on the spiritual platform, that pure urge of the soul to love God, it's totally beyond anything mundane, any mundane rules and regulations. So we can't understand him without that, without having that. And the rules and regulations are servants to help us arrange the material situation in such a way that makes it easy for us to come to that platform where we can actually be aware of our eternal position. And from that stage, we can offer that spiritual, it says here, Prabhupada says here, yeah, by such clearing of consciousness. So here, all impiety is cleansed, effective many thousands of yajna performances. So we understand. Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavama Prapadre Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. After many, many births, one situated in knowledge, arrives, that surrenders to Krishna. So it can be understand that through many, many processes of birth, one comes in contact with he comes to the human form of life, and then he takes to the rules and regulations of the Vedic rules and regulations. And then he purifies his existence to the point where, by such clearing of consciousness, by performance of yoga and penance, austerities, clearing of consciousness, purification, one becomes fully confident of his eternal position in relationship with the Supreme. So that eternal position in relationship with the Supreme, loving reciprocal relate between the individual soul and the Supreme Soul. That's the real thing. That's bhakti. And so we're trying to come to that platform. We're following the rules and regulations, and we're trying to come to that platform where we can do that. Surrender unto the Lord. And when one takes so one has the association of the Lord, there's no question of any material contamination infecting his consciousness, right? And therefore, Prabhupada also said, he no longer has any obligations to the Vedic injunctions because one has attained that platform. So like he's constantly he's an associate of the Lord now. He's taking the Lord's association. So on that platform, what need does he have to adhere to artificial or dry rules and regulations for purification of consciousness when he's actually made it? He's achieved the goal. And so he's there now. And so on that platform, there's no question of becoming impure. Any infection, material infections arising. So then, Krishna conscious person is no longer interested in material activities and no longer takes pleasure in material arrangements like wine, women, and similar infatuations. He's gotten rid of that taste for this material world because he's made it. He's enjoying his eternal relationship with Krishna, Rama, the reservoir of pleasure. And Krishna's Atma Rama. And the devotee is also Atma Rama. The devotee is totally self-satisfied, taking pleasure in the self. What's the word here? Atma Rati. Atma Rati, he takes pleasure in the self. Atma Triptaha, self-illumined. He's self-illumined. He's made it to the source of knowledge, the source of consciousness and bliss. Krishna, so he's made it, so he's illumined. There's no question of not knowing who he is. There's no question of not tasting the highest pleasure. There's no question of him falling down to taste any lower pleasures, because he's made it. You know. So just like when you are looking at the reflection of water and you're seeing yourself in the morning, you know, simultaneously the sun is there. So we're only able to see ourselves when the sun is present, you know. So similarly, when we become Krishna conscious, we know fully who we are. Our eternal relationship with Krishna is revealed. Our eternal spiritual identity is revealed. Whereas if I make it to the Brahman platform, actually my true identity is not fully revealed. I'm still thinking that I'm Sat. My Sat identity, my eternal identity is there. But when it comes to blissful consciousness, because there's no distinction, how can there be any, what am I conscious of? Eternity, maybe oneness, this advayam, this non-dual consciousness. But when one progresses further and further by process of devotional service, Sat is also there. Spiritual world is eternal. It's beyond the Brahman effulgence, so it's eternal. But there's also consciousness and blissful consciousness because there's distinction now. The devotee now is seeing himself in relation to the Lord, in relation to the Lord's other servants. So there's one's full spiritual identity becomes revealed, and in that state, he becomes Atma Ram, and he's fully absorbed in that blissful existence, the supreme absolute reality, Krishna consciousness. Therefore, all other purposes are served. Just like we were reading a while back with that nice verse where all the purposes of the small wells are served by the larger body of water, or the sun, when the sun is out in the sky, there's no need for flashlights or any artificial small sources of light, candles or anything like that. You don't need those things anymore. You can put those down and just enjoy that the sun is out, you know. So Maharaj gave that really nice comment about, I think this was Yamunacharya. I don't know. Oh no. This was the prayers of King Kulashekar, I think, where he basically says that um, that uh, ka, kama, artha, dharma, and moksha are um, uh, servants of bhakti. Was that it? Something like that? Was that it? That was Bilva Mangala Thakur. When I'm engaged in devotional service, liberation stands before me with folded hands. Right, right. Yeah. Mukti is ready to offer service. Yeah, that's a really nice word. So mukti, this thing which is worshipped very highly in the Vedas, it's the goal of life for a lot of the yogis and sages is mukti and moksha. In fact, a lot of impersonalists still they worship, they engage in bhakti, so-called bhakti, with the goal for liberation. But we hear in the Nectar Devotion, I think, Nectar Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami says that the desire for bhukti and mukti are witches. Because when the desire for bhukti and mukti is present in the heart, they steal the heart, right? So the heart, you can't actually give the heart to Krishna when you're desiring liberation or uh, sense enjoyment, material sense enjoyment. But the second one has the pure desire to serve Krishna for pure devotional service, right? That desire, um, that desire is the goal of life. Maintain that desire, and that pure devotional service. If mukti is there, offering service in folded hands to such a devotee like Vivekamangala Thakur, what to speak of artha, kama, moksha? All these other goals of life are immediately, automatically there. Therefore, one is able to actually cure his infectious disease, the infectious disease he has for wanting to enjoy material pleasures like wine, women, and similar infatuations, which the living entities in the bodies of the hogs, the dogs, the monkeys are enjoying. So if we want to enjoy those things, we can take these bodies, but we're here in the human form of life. We're able to see very clearly, objectively, how horrible that existence is. It's horrible. There's no what's See, so much anxiety is there, attachment, greed, lust, envy, all these horrible things which are binding one to these horrible existences. One is completely in ignorance to that source of pleasure within, that Rama, Krishna. Yeah.
May I make a comment or should I wait till the end of class?
Please, Prabhu.
Are you sure?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I thought these ugly emotions and all these ugly things. I don't know if this is bona fide by scripture. Maybe you could back it up by scripture, but I was thinking somehow I was thinking today, man, how much I've fallen from what I used to be like, when I peaked when I was in high school, and I was thinking man, I've fallen so far from what I used to do. I was so motivated, all this stuff. Anyway, and then I was thinking about it. I was thinking what is it what was it that made me fall down? What was it? Because I was thinking like, man, I used to be so good, and then it like hit me. It was like I started thinking about like Star Wars, you know. Started thinking like, man, I was on the good side, but now I'm totally on the dark side because like I'm just like I have all these bad emotions and these envious thoughts and things. So I was thinking that, and actually I realized that it's actually sex that made me fall down to I mean that and intoxication basically were the two main factors of that. But I was thinking the most important part was like how we've come from our innocent like childhood to this this envious, you know, very dark, um very dark personality, very dark, you know, heart. You know, we have a very corrupted heart. And I was thinking like this the switch from that is like really interesting. And like I thought it was interesting that you brought it up, because like all these animals they experience the same thing. And yeah, we're all going through the same thing basically. Like we're all just we're all good people who have fallen from our position because we were envious. And it's kind of a sad story, but it's true.
Mm.
So yeah, I thought it would be nice to share that. Thank you very much for hearing my comment.
Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing that, for revealing your mind. Yeah, there's a few factors at play. We we have lifetimes. Nitya Bada. It's not. There's no saying how long we've been in this world, how much conditioning we've undergone in this world. So much conditioning. So much conditioning is there. It's like you remember in school when you were learning about uh geography. No, not geography. What's it called? Earth sciences, whatever. But you got layers of sedimentary rock, soil, which is just um, accumulated on top of one another. The deeper you go, the older it gets, you know. So it's like that. So we got layers of animal life, plant life, animal life, human life, maybe demigod life is there, demonic life, rakshasa life. So many different layers are there, and covering the soul, the eternal soul. So in all of those different species of life, we've had a conception of what the goal of life was. And it more or less you can lump them all as sense gratification. They looked a little different when we were, say in that form of life, you were thinking that the goal is to mate with. So if I was in my monkey body, I'm thinking that, okay, the goal of life is to mate with a monkey, a nice monkey, attractive monkey, or so on and so forth. But actually, it's all just sense gratification. But even in this human form of life, we're born in this country with, I mean, these qualities are already following us even from the time of childhood. I remember being a child and I was so envious. I did so many horrible things actually, bully, make fun of kids. No reason. It's like you come out of whereas you come out into this world and you're crying and screaming, covered in blood. And you early on you learn how to manipulate your parents to get what you want, crying and screaming, all these different things, and then if you have siblings, maybe pinching your siblings or whatever. Sometimes we're not like that, and sometimes bad association gets us. For me, it was that I came out and I was like that. And I remember doing horrible things to other kids, pushing them, tripping them, things like that. But it's not until you come in contact with pure devotional movement that light is there. light from the transcendental knowledge from the spiritual master, the devotees, the scriptures, illuminates the consciousness. And suddenly what you were thinking and what you were attached to and what you were considering as very good qualities. Oh, my false pride. Yes, my false pride. Confident. And I use this confidence, this false confidence and false pride to get what I want, you know. But actually I have no qualities, practical qualities to back those things up. So all these horrible things that we have that we're attached to, and we think they're good because they help us get what we want, and we think that that thing is good. All those things are actually horrible, though. And so it's not until you come to devotional service that that light, like I said, that light is shined in the consciousness, and you're able to see, oh man, I'm horrible. And so we might be doing some comparison how I am now, feeling like I'm like, man, I've fallen so far from my position in my material life. When I had all these different things, I had this pride, I had all these friends, all this enjoyment. But actually, we were in ignorance then, so we couldn't see anything. Now we're seeing, but we should see that I'm purifying. I'm actually getting better. I'm better. Now we know, we were hearing the other day in Bhagavad Gita, Swarthagati. Swarthagati. What is the goal of life? The goal of life is Vishnu, to approach Vishnu. So if we're being overburdened by this kind of introspection, constantly analyzing or constantly thinking about ourselves, well, we turn our attention towards Vishnu, towards the Lord, and the Lord is so amazing, the Lord is so amazing. He's done so many amazing things, right? And he's Bhagavan. He's the possessor of all opulences. So if we're ever feeling deficient of any material opulences, and we're feeling some kind of moroseness and some hankering to go back and enjoy those things, well, we think of Vishnu, Lord Krishna, who's Bhagavan, the source of all unlimited opulences. And we can hear his pastimes, and developing love and humility, we're able to glorify him. And because we're glorifying the person who has all these unlimited opulences, we it's so much more, so much better than trying to be that person. Actually, that's so anxiety inducing to think that, being under the misconception that I am God, right? And let me try to enjoy this world. It's any celebrities you hear who have some kind of material opulence, very minute fraction, compared to some of the personalities that we hear about in the Bhagavatam, Hiranyakashipu. What about him, for example? Well, he got ripped open by Nrsingadev. So whatever, we might hear from these athletes or these rock stars or these movie stars, and a lot of them actually, they do speak their mind in public, and they say, yeah, they experienced so many horrible things. So much anxiety was there. And they enjoyed the material world in this Kali Yuga, whatever little enjoyment is there in the material anyways in Kali Yuga. They enjoyed it, and they lost their buzz. Just didn't stick around. It's like chewing the chewed, So then they go and they try to find spiritual life. Anyways, so yeah, we can shift our consciousness to, might be meditating on the mind, all these different things, on myself and my false ego and all these. So if you just shift the focus to Krishna, then generally we just forget about ourselves, just forget. Bodhi's got no consideration for his own personal gain or his own personal, just doesn't consider that he's important. He himself is of any importance, or any of his activities that he's doing personally he's not contributing anything important to Krishna's service to Krishna's mission. And he doesn't consider himself to be very important. And the nice thing is in that humble state, and that we're able to tolerate everything and be humble enough to constantly glorify the Lord, which is, that will relieve all of this this hankering and lamentation, is we're able to do that. But like I was reading the Bhagavatam the past time, where Lord Shiva drinks the ocean of the poison from the ocean of milk, and his sages are glorifying him such a nice way, but it's described that he's acting out of compassion. He's totally like thinks that he's important and all the activities that he's ever done for Krishna are unimportant, but he acts out of compassion for the living entities. So that's the personification of humility, and tolerance. So honor, dishonor, praise, gain, pleasure, and pain. We just fix the consciousness on the Lord and rise above all these things. Matrasparshastu konteya, chitosna sukadukadaha, agama paino nityas tangtite shashvavarta.
I just want to say that I acknowledge my mistake, and I apologize to everyone for bringing myself into the class. I apologize for that.
Oh, no worries, Babuji. That was a nice comment. That was a nice comment. That was a nice comment. But the solution is to, yeah, I mean, we're good at doing this. We're actually good meditators, but we're meditating on the wrong things. Because we naturally have this consciousness. We have it in the human form of life, we have a developed consciousness. So Krishna says, Man mana bhava mad bhakto. This is what we can do in the human form of life, is meditate on the Lord. Think about the Lord, serve the Lord. So we have these facilities, this consciousness and this intelligence, but we've just been engaging it in the wrong things, in material activities. Namely, it's been abducted by the senses and the mind, our consciousness, our intelligence. It's been abducted by the senses and the mind. So it's become infected and contaminated. But actually we can take this and we can be a little bit confident that actually, oh yeah, I do meditate. I meditate all day. I'm focusing on something all day. There's something that's grabbing my attention, whatever it is. It may be different for different individuals, but it has something to do with our supposed to go. So I'm meditating all day on this thing. So I've got this abilities, and let me just place it on Krishna. Let me just turn my attention to Krishna, and all things are solved. Because Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and supplying the ingredient, devotees supplying the ingredients to his enjoyment. They're not cheated or they don't lose anything. Actually, they're eternally gaining the highest thing. What could be better than supplying enjoyment to the person who actually has unlimited beauty, unlimited strength, unlimited fame, unlimited renunciation, unlimited knowledge? What could be more blissful than being an associate of that person? Yes, Prabhu. What's the difference between serving Krishna and serving somebody else? Basically. Well, well, yeah, Krishna is able to actually reciprocate with us nicely. If you serve somebody who's got something material, then yeah, okay, they can supply you with something, but that thing is temporary. That thing is like nothing, you know. But Krishna is actually, he's not only is he the possessor of all these opulences, but he's actually he's the person who gives us our life. Uh, so he's able to reciprocate uh, fully with the living entities. You know, just like there's that Krishnanda, you say it, Prabhu, quite a bit, or you have before a few times. I mean, you've said it recently at least, where we have two hands. Krishna has 10 hands, you know. So he can give us more than we can even accept, right? But specifically, the devotee is concerned with supplying Krishna pleasure. Um, Specifically out of his natural affection for Krishna, because Krishna is all attractive. So the devotee is naturally just attracted to Krishna, his pastimes, his name. Therefore, he serves Krishna. Not really that he wants to get anything out of it, but he's cultivated the natural attraction, which is the original taste. I mean, it's like, this makes sense. Why would you, we're all, you know, taste. It's rasa, it's relations, it's just taste. There's so much more, and there's unlimited taste with serving Krishna. So we go and we try to serve somebody else, but you know, it doesn't work out. It just tastes bitter. You know, but Krishna is actually able to reciprocate. He's the king of relationships. He's the perfect lover. He's the perfect lover. You know, he's so beautiful. So naturally, there's so many reasons to be attracted to him. Now that natural attraction, we approach him. You know, just because he's Krishna. But when we do, we realize that yeah, we also get everything is satisfied. Everything is satisfied. You know, very nicely. So maybe there's more, um, but that was an answer. So also the relationship is spiritual, right? So it's on the highest platform. So it's satisfying to the self, whereas material relationships are not. It's satisfying to the senses, satisfying to the mind, maybe, but actually they leave these things. They disturb, they agitate the mind, they agitate the senses further. You know, they leave us hankering and wanting more of these horrible things. You know, so if I'm engaging in material activities, actually, I have to. The demands of the body and mind increase, so then I have to perform more and more heinous activities to try to extract a little bit more pleasure. You know, but if I'm engaging in devotional service, you know, we're performing such blissful activities like chanting the Lord's holy name and eating, taking prasad with the devotees and singing and dancing before the Lord and reading the nice scriptures and illuminating our consciousness with the pastimes of the Lord. These are wonderful activities. The consciousness is going to the topmost place and we're enjoying it. So nothing better. Nothing's better. Or you become satisfied, spiritually satisfied. And you know, it's an eternal relationship. It's full of bliss, unlimited bliss. So those are some things. Let's see. Text 18. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. A self-realized man is no longer obliged to perform any prescribed duty, save and except activities in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not inactivity either, as will be explained in the following verses. A Krishna conscious man does not take shelter of any person, man or demigod. Whatever he does in Krishna consciousness is sufficient in the discharge of his obligation. Sri Rupa Goswami defines pure devotional service as being jnana karma dhyanamritam, that's free of mental speculation and fruitive activities. So So the devotee who's engaged in the devotional service, who's not engaged in fruit of activity, it's not a fruit of activity. It's not, it produces fruit, the highest spiritual fruit. And also devotees engaging in devotional service, karma yoga, they're also engaging in activities which do produce fruits, but they are offering that to Krishna. So it's totally spiritual. They're not enjoying those fruits. But yeah, if our desire is tinged with anything other than the pure desire to serve Krishna out of our natural affection for him, then that's a material contamination. If I'm engaging activities to try to enjoy the fruit of those activities myself, it's a material uh, infection, and it leads to suffering. It leads to attachment and material attachment, which leads to bondage in the material world and take birth and disease and old age, all these different things, death. So these activities lead to suffering. They lead to hell. One becomes attached, lust, there, pinching the living entity, causing him to do so many horrible things. Anger is there, bewilderment, and one is in the Bhava Sindhu, the ocean of material existence, crashing around in the waves of duality, hot and cold, pleasure and pain, fame and infamy, and all these horrible things that are just distracting us from our real eternal pleasure, our real eternal life with Krishna, which is free from any selfish motives, and the relationship is totally free. Any other relationship, it's going to be guaranteed that the love that the person, so-called love the person has for me and the so-called love I have for them is totally contaminated with, you know, personal interest or the desire to satisfy myself. So my own personal gain. So it's not even real. Anyone who appreciates truth, they can see that these kinds of relationships are rejectable. And the only thing that I have to accept is my eternal relationship with the Lord. Anyways, because these things are illusory, founded on lies and all kinds of different things, these relationships. You gotta give them up. And we can give them up very easily by um, becoming fully confident in our eternal position with Krishna and our eternal relationship with Krishna through this knowledge, through this transcendental knowledge, and by performing these transcendental sacrifices, devotional service, and whatnot. So we're getting close to the time. Does anyone have anything they'd like to, any nectars or anything? Yes, Prabhu? Hmm. 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 So, yeah, here in the material world, we're using our material intelligence, material senses to try to solve problems, but we're just creating more and more problems. So instead of trying all these speculating things, let's just take to the process of devotional service, Sarvapadi Vanir Muktam, and serve, which will actually destroy all those things, and we can be situated in our eternal reality and serve Rishikesha. Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.